If your emotions control you, you are a slave. If people's words dictate your peace, you have no power. The Stoic mind is the opposite. It is unbothered, untouchable, and unstoppable. This is not about ignoring emotion. It's about mastering it. This audiobook will teach you how to stay calm in chaos, confident in rejection, and strong in silence. You will learn to control the only thing you ever truly own, your mind. Let nothing control you, not fear, not people, not circumstance. From this moment, your emotional freedom begins. You wake up every morning with a storm inside you. Thoughts, fears, doubts, memories, all of them fighting for control of your mind. Most people let the storm win. They let emotion make their decisions. They let fear dictate their day. They let anger ruin their peace. But not you, not anymore. This is the first rule of the Stoic mind. You cannot stop the storm, but you can control the captain. You will not silence emotion by force. You will silence it through understanding. You will learn to observe, not obey what you feel. That's the first shift from slave to master, from reactor to ruler. Emotions are not enemies. They are signals. Anger tells you something feels unfair. Fear tells you something feels uncertain. Sadness tells you something has value. But if you obey those emotions blindly, they will destroy you. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion. The Stoic watches emotion. You see it rise. You name it. You pause. That's the key, the pause. The pause principle. Before you react, you stop. Before you speak, you breathe. Before you move, you think. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You can let the inner storm command your words, or you can control your ship. The pause is where control lives. The pause is where power lives. Think about your life. How many times have you said something you didn't mean because you reacted too fast? How many times did anger cost you peace? How many times did fear stop you from acting? You knew better, but you didn't pause. Reaction is weakness. Reflection is strength. The Stoic lives between stimulus and response, between what happens and what he chooses to do about it. That small gap, that half second of awareness, that's your weapon. Use it, train it, protect it. That's emotional control. That's the discipline of the mind. You have to train yourself to pause the same way a soldier trains for battle. Because make no mistake, this is war. It's not a war outside you. It's a war within you, between who you are and who you want to be, between your emotions and your intentions. When someone insults you, pause. When someone ignores you, pause. When life feels unfair, pause. When you're afraid, pause. That pause gives you your power back. Because in that moment, you remember, you decide what happens next. You can breathe. You can step back. You can choose peace over pride. And every time you do, you become stronger. You grow more centered. You move closer to mastery. The weak man says, I couldn't help it. The strong man says, I chose to respond. That's the difference. That's what separates those who are controlled by life and those who control life. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to react to everything that challenges you. You don't need to explain your calm. Your silence is proof of your control. Your composure is proof of your discipline. Your restraint is proof of your strength. Remember this. The storm outside can't sink the ship. Only the water that gets inside can. Control the inside, and the outside can't touch you. Let's take this deeper. When emotion rises, most people fight it. They resist. They deny. They pretend. But what you resist persists. The Stoic doesn't fight emotion. He observes it. He lets it rise. He lets it pass. Like watching clouds move across the sky. Observation creates distance. Distance creates control. Control creates peace. You don't suppress your anger. You study it. You don't run from your fear. You face it. You don't drown in sadness. You learn from it. That's how you turn weakness into wisdom. You have to be the watcher, not the wave. Because when you watch the storm, you rise above it. You are not the thought. You are not the emotion. You are the awareness behind it. Every time you practice the pause, you're building muscle, the mental muscle of self-control. And the more you train it, the stronger it gets. Start small. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Pause. Someone criticizes you. Pause. You get bad news. Pause. Your old self will want to react, but your new self will say, no, I choose control. I choose calm. I choose power. You can feel emotion fully without letting it take control. You can feel anger and still act with reason. You can feel fear and still move forward. That's emotional mastery. That's the Stoic mind. Here's the truth. Life will always test you. It will test your patience. It will test your calm. It will test your discipline. But those tests are not punishments. They are opportunities to practice control. Every challenge is a classroom for your mind. When someone pushes your buttons, they're giving you a chance to prove your strength. When life frustrates you, it's sharpening your patience. When you feel emotional chaos, it's training your awareness. You don't grow calm by meditating once. You grow calm by choosing calm over and over again until it becomes who you are. That's how mastery is built. Repetition, awareness, and pause. So when the storm rises again, and it will, don't try to stop it. Don't fight it. Don't fear it. Just step back and say, I see you. I feel you. But I control me. That's the essence of the Stoic mind. Not the absence of emotion. The command of emotion. You have to choose that power daily. Moment by moment. Reaction by reaction. Control begins within. Say it again. Control begins within. Everything outside you is noise until you master what's inside you. You cannot master your world until you master your response. You cannot lead others until you lead yourself. You cannot find peace until you stop letting the storm decide who you are. So pause, breathe, choose. Control begins within. And that's where your transformation starts, that you've learned to control the inner storm. You've learned that calm is your weapon and pause is your power. But calm alone isn't enough. Now you must learn what truly deserves your attention and what does not. Because not everything is yours to control. There are two kinds of power in this world. The power you have and the illusion of power you chase. The Stoic knows the difference. The rest of the world doesn't. The weak mind fights everything outside itself. The strong mind focuses only on what it can control, itself. That's the line that divides chaos from peace. That's the key. Every day, life throws noise at you. People, problems, opinions, delays, disappointments. Everyone wants your reaction. Everyone wants your energy. Everyone wants your peace. And most people give it away. Freely, they argue with traffic. They fight with rude people. They get angry at weather, systems, outcomes. They burn energy on what was never theirs to command. You cannot control the traffic. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control another person's mind. So why do you keep trying? That's the truth you must face. You're wasting energy on what will never bend to your will. You're handing over control without realizing it. The Stoic refuses to do that. The Stoic draws a line. What's mine, I will master. What's not, I will release. That's the discipline. That's the mindset. That's emotional control in its purest form. You must understand this. The moment you try to control the uncontrollable, you lose control of yourself. That's the paradox. When you try to control others, you become reactive. When you try to control outcomes, you become anxious. When you try to control time, you become impatient. Every attempt to control what isn't yours makes you weaker. You have a choice. You always have a choice. Let go or be dragged. Detach or be destroyed. It's not about controlling life. It's about controlling your response to life. That's the real power. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic. You're late. You feel tension rising. Your mind wants to fight what's happening. But what can you actually do? You can't move the cars. You can't move the clock. You can't make the road disappear. So you have two options. Suffer or surrender. Surrender doesn't mean weakness. Surrender means strength. It means you see reality clearly and choose not to fight it. You breathe. You relax your shoulders. You say to yourself, if it's not within me, it cannot control me. That's the Stoic mantra. Say it often. Live it daily. Because every time you accept what's outside your control, you regain control of what's inside. Most people believe peace is about fixing life. But peace isn't about fixing. Peace is about focusing. Focus only on what belongs to you. Your thoughts, your words, your actions, your effort, your attitude. That's all. Everything else is noise. And noise has only one purpose: to distract you from your power. You can't control the market, but you can control your discipline. You can't control what people think of you, but you can control your self-respect. You can't control how life unfolds, but you can control how you stand through it. That's what the Stoic does. He separates signal from noise. He focuses on what's real. He releases what's useless. Detachment isn't indifference. It's intelligence. It's knowing where your energy belongs and refusing to waste it where it doesn't. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not heartless, you're disciplined. You don't ignore life. You master your role within it. That's what detachment truly means. It's the art of selective control. It's not apathy, it's awareness. You have a choice in every situation. Engage with chaos or protect your peace. Fight the uncontrollable or control your focus. One drains you, the other builds you. That's the key. Let's get practical. Start today by identifying what truly belongs to you. Write it down. Your choices, your habits, your reactions, your mindset. Then identify what doesn't belong to you. Other people's moods, other people's decisions, random events, past mistakes. Everything on that second list. Release it. Delete it from your mental bandwidth. Stop giving energy to what gives nothing back. When you find yourself getting upset, stop and ask, is this mine to control? If the answer is no, breathe. If the answer is no, let it go. If the answer is no, detach. That's your practice. That's your mastery. You will be tested. Life will push your boundaries. People will provoke you. Delays will frustrate you. Plans will fail. But remember, these are not enemies. They are reminders. They remind you to practice your control. Every test of patience is a test of perspective. Every frustration is a chance to strengthen your detachment. When someone disrespects you, stay calm. When something doesn't go your way, stay focused. When life refuses to obey, refuse to lose control. That's not suppression. That's domination. You're not avoiding emotion. You're leading it. You're not ignoring reality. You're mastering it. The Stoic doesn't fight the river. He flows with it because he knows the river doesn't answer to him, but he still decides how to swim. That's the power. Repeat this to yourself every morning. If it's not within me, it cannot control me. Your mind is your territory. Your energy is sacred ground. Don't let the outside world trespass. Let go of the need to control what isn't yours. Let go of the urge to fix what isn't broken. Let go of the illusion that peace comes from changing life. Peace comes from changing focus. That's the lesson. That's the discipline. You are not here to control the world. You are here to control yourself. The more you try to control life, the more it controls you. The moment you let go, you win. Control your actions. Control your emotions. Control your discipline. Everything else, release it. That's how you rise above chaos. That's how you live with peace in a world full of noise. That's how you build the Stoic mind. If it's not within you, it cannot control you. You've learned to separate what's yours from what's not. You've learned to focus on what you can control and to release what you can't. That's freedom. That's peace. But control of the external is just the first layer. Now, you must face the deeper trap, the need for approval. You want to know what chains most people never break? It's not fear. It's not laziness. It's approval. The hunger for validation is the quiet addiction that rots your power from inside. It's the invisible leash that pulls you wherever the crowd wants you to go. You think you're making choices. You're not. You're reacting. You're performing. You live in a world of mirrors, likes, comments, compliments, attention, and you confuse that with worth. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. The Stoic walks alone if he must, because peace is found in alignment, not applause. You have to decide what you value more, being admired or being anchored. That's the key. You can't have both. You've been trained since childhood to chase approval. You got gold stars in school for fitting the mold. You got praise for making others comfortable. You got attention when you perform the version of yourself that pleased people. But here's the truth. Approval is not love. Approval is transaction. It's the currency of manipulation. When you live for it, you hand over your freedom. You say, I don't care what people think, but your actions prove otherwise. You filter your speech. You soften your edges. You hide your ambition. Why? Because deep down, you still crave permission. Let me tell you something brutal. You don't need their permission. You never did. You have a choice. Live for their applause or live for your purpose. You can't do both. There's a story of a man who spent years chasing approval. He wanted to be liked. He wanted to be accepted. Every time he entered a room, he shaped himself to what others wanted him to be. When he was around the ambitious, he acted driven. When he was around the spiritual, he pretended to be humble. When he was around the powerful, he became a servant. He called it adaptability. He thought he was being smart, but what he was really doing was disappearing. One day, he looked in the mirror and didn't recognize a man staring back. He had built a life full of validation, and yet he felt hollow. He realized something devastating. He had everyone's approval, except his own. The Stoic walks a different path. He knows that chasing validation is emotional slavery. He refuses to negotiate his peace for applause. He knows that silence is stronger than fake praise. Repeat after me. Approval is weakness disguised as love. Let that burn in your mind, because that's exactly what it is. When someone praises you, it feels like love. When someone criticizes you, it feels like rejection. But both are traps. If you let them define you, the world doesn't know who you are. They see fragments, filters, projections. They can't validate your soul because they can't see it. Only you can. That's why the Stoic's power is internal. He doesn't chase affirmation. He builds conviction. He doesn't need people to agree with his choices. He just needs to know they are his. You want freedom? Then stop living for applause. Because applause fades. Conviction endures. Here's the truth. Every time you look for external approval, you weaken your internal authority. You give away your center. You become dependent on noise to feel whole. But the Stoic understands something fundamental. Peace is born in detachment, not from coldness, but from clarity. If it's not within you, it cannot control you. You post something online. Nobody reacts. Do you shrink? Do you doubt yourself? That's the test. That's where your power lives or dies. Your job is to create, speak, and act, not for validation, but for alignment, not for applause, but for authenticity. You have a choice. Feed your ego or build your integrity. And listen closely. It's not about arrogance. It's about independence. The man who no longer needs approval becomes unstoppable because he's no longer distracted by noise. When you stop needing approval, people lose control over you. They can no longer manipulate you with praise or punishment. They can no longer guilt you into compliance. You become unpredictable, and unpredictable people are powerful. Most people spend their lives as emotional slaves, pleasing, apologizing, adapting, performing. But not you, not anymore. You will train your mind to resist the pull of validation. Here's how. Observe your impulse. Every time you seek approval, pause. Notice it. Don't fight it. Just see it for what it is. A reflex born of fear. The fear of being rejected. The fear of being unseen. But fear is not fact. Reframe the urge. Instead of asking, will they like me? Ask, am I being honest? Approval fades. Integrity doesn't. Practice solitude. Sit in silence. No phone. No validation. Just you, your thoughts, your truth. If that silence scares you, that's where you need to stay. Until it no longer does. Detach from feedback. Praise means nothing. Criticism means nothing. What matters is whether you are living in alignment with your values. That's the measure. Do this long enough, and you'll notice something. You stop chasing people. You stop begging for attention. You stop shrinking yourself to fit in. You'll walk into rooms differently, calm, grounded, and whole, because your worth no longer depends on anyone's reaction. That's real confidence. That's real freedom. You have a choice. You can keep begging for crumbs of validation, or you can build an unshakable core. You can keep performing, or you can start living. You can keep chasing applause, or you can start walking your path, even if it's silent, even if it's lonely. The Stoic doesn't need the crowd. He carries his conviction like armor. He walks alone, but never feels lost, because he knows where he stands. The weak crave approval. The strong command respect. And respect begins with self-respect. So say it again. Approval is weakness disguised as love. Say it until it sinks in. Say it until your bones believe it. You don't need their permission. You don't need their praise. You don't need their understanding. What you need is yourself. That's the key. That's the lesson. That's the discipline. You've learned to stop needing approval. You've reclaimed your power from the crowd. But now, it's time to face an even deeper challenge, the mastery of stillness. Because once you stop chasing noise, you must learn to embrace silence. And silence is where real strength is forged. In a noisy world, silence has become a superpower. Everyone's talking. Everyone's reacting. Everyone's trying to be heard. But the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. The one who cannot control his tongue cannot control his life. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strength, because silence requires restraint. And restraint is discipline. That's the key. You've been taught to respond instantly, to defend, to prove, to argue. You think fast reactions show confidence. They don't. They show insecurity. They show the mind that hasn't learned command. The Stoic knows this. Every word you speak is energy. Every reaction you give is power leaving your hands. So he guards his words like a warrior guards his weapon. He doesn't waste them. You have a choice. You can keep reacting to every comment, every insult, every distraction. Or you can learn the art of stillness. You can learn to let silence do the talking. Because stillness is not emptiness, it's command. That's your mantra. Say it again. Stillness is not emptiness, it's command. Think about it. The people who truly lead don't shout. They don't explain themselves. They don't argue with the unwise. They speak less, and their words carry more. Why? Because silence builds tension. It builds gravity. When you speak less, people listen more. When you react less, people respect more. Control is quiet, precise, intentional. It's not about showing your power. It's about owning it. It's about knowing you could respond, but choosing not to. That's discipline. That's strength. Here's the mistake most people make. They believe they lose power when they don't respond. They believe silence means surrender. But that's a lie. Silence doesn't mean submission. It means strategy. It means you're thinking before you act. It means you understand something others don't. That power is best used rarely, not recklessly. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you train control. You create space between emotion and action. And in that space, you gain mastery. It's not about ego. It's about evolution. It's not about winning arguments. It's about winning yourself. Because the man who cannot remain silent when provoked is still a slave to his emotions. You've seen this before. Someone insults you, and your instinct is to fire back. Someone disrespects you, and you want to defend yourself. Someone spreads lies, and you rush to prove them wrong. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't need to defend your truth. You don't need their understanding. Truth defends itself with time. Your job is not to convince. It's to remain composed. You don't need their permission to be at peace. You don't need their approval to stay calm. You have a choice. And every time you choose silence, you choose sovereignty. Stillness is not passivity. It's precision. It's knowing when to strike and when to stand still. A sword swung wildly is dangerous. A sword sheathed at the right time is deadly. The same goes for your words. In real life, silence is a weapon and a shield. When you're in conflict, silence disarms chaos. When you're attacked, silence confuses the aggressor. When you're insulted, silence shows superiority. When you're challenged, silence creates curiosity. People don't expect calm. They expect chaos. When you give them stillness instead of reaction, you disrupt their rhythm. You change the energy. That's power. Let's get practical. How do you master silence in a world built on noise? Step 1. The pause. Every time you're about to react, pause. One breath, one beat. That's all it takes to break the pattern. That pause is your entry into control. Because in that pause, you're no longer being pulled, you're choosing. Step 2, the detachment. Not every comment deserves your reply. Not every insult deserves your energy. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 minutes? 5 hours? 5 years? If not, walk away. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Step 3, the watcher mind. When you stay silent, you can see clearly. You observe motives. You notice patterns. You read people. And once you can read them, you can predict them. Silence sharpens perception. And perception wins battles. Step 4, the strategic voice. Silence doesn't mean never speaking. It means speaking when it counts. When your words carry purpose, not impulse. When your response creates direction, not drama. You don't talk to be heard. You speak to make impact. That's how the Stoic communicates, with clarity, not clutter. There's a story about a general known for his calm in battle. When his army was ambushed, his men panicked. They shouted, argued, scattered, but he stood still. He didn't speak. He observed. He waited. Then, with one command, he turned the chaos into order. The battle was won not through volume, but through composure. That's you. That's who you must become. Unshaken, unrushed, unreactive. Your silence should speak louder than their shouting. Your calm should dominate their chaos. That's the discipline of strength. Let me remind you, noise is cheap. Stillness is expensive. Anyone can yell. Only the grounded can stay quiet. You don't gain control by speaking more. You gain control by needing to speak less. Because silence isn't empty, it's full. Full of awareness. Full of patience. Full of power. Stillness is not emptiness. It's command. Repeat that again. Say it slowly. Stillness is not emptiness. It's command. When you can sit in silence with your anger, you own it. When you can endure misunderstanding without explaining, you rise above it. When you can hold your ground without noise, you become unshakable. That's mastery. That's the Stoic's armor. Remember this. You are not obligated to react. You are not required to explain. You are not responsible for how they perceive your quiet. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. Let them project. While they waste energy, you conserve it. While they chase validation, you build vision. While they talk, you act. You don't owe anyone your noise. You owe yourself your peace. That's the key. So the next time you feel the urge to react, stop. Pause. Breathe. Choose silence. Because silence is not retreat. It's readiness. It's not fear, it's focus. It's not submission, it's strength. And when you master silence, you master yourself. You become unmovable. You become untouchable. You become the calm in the storm. You don't need their noise. You don't need their chaos. You don't need their attention. You have command. You have control. You have silence. That's power. You've learned the discipline of silence. You've built control over your reactions. Now, it's time to learn the next layer of Stoic strength, how to transform pain into purpose. Because silence is strength, yes, but suffering, when mastered, is fuel. You must understand this truth. He who reacts loses. He who waits wins. Every emotional reaction steals your power. Every impulse response drains your control. Every time you take the bait, you give away your peace. You have a choice. That's the key. You can let every insult, every distraction, every disappointment pull you into chaos. Or you can master the art of non-reaction. Non-reaction isn't weakness. It isn't apathy. It's strategy. It's strength disguised as calm. It's control in motionless form. When you react, you hand control to someone else. When you stay still, you keep it. Reaction is emotional reflex. Response is conscious command. The first is survival. The second is mastery. The Stoic knows. You don't need to react to prove power. Real power is proven by how much you can ignore. Let that sink in. Look around you. Most people are ruled by their reactions. They explode over opinions online. They panic over temporary setbacks. They lose sleep over someone else's words. They think reacting shows strength. It doesn't. It shows instability. It shows a mind that can be manipulated, because the one who can control your emotions controls you. Non-reaction is freedom. It is psychological sovereignty. It is emotional armor that no insult, no betrayal, no event can pierce. You've been trained to respond instantly. Technology rewards speed, not thought. But mastery isn't built on speed. It's built on stillness. When something provokes you, the mind screams, "Do something." But the Stoic whispers, "Wait. Wait until emotion fades. Wait until clarity returns. Wait until reaction turns into response. Because when you wait, you see. You see the truth behind the noise. You see who's trying to provoke you. You see the game for what it is. And when you see clearly, you win silently. Let's be clear. Non-reaction is not silence out of fear. It's silence out of control. It's the ability to choose your moment instead of being dragged into theirs. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. You don't need their validation. That's the key. Non-reaction is not about pleasing them. It's about protecting you. Let's break it down. There are 3 types of reaction you must conquer: emotional, impulsive, and defensive. 1. Emotional reaction. This happens when something triggers your feelings: anger, jealousy, insecurity. You lash out. You text back. You post something you'll regret. That's not strength. That's surrender. You gave emotion the wheel. You have to train the pause. When you feel the rise, stop. Take 1 breath. Don't act on emotion. Act on intention. That's the key difference. 2. Impulsive reaction. You want instant relief from discomfort. You rush decisions. You respond too soon. You choose without thinking. That's how chaos begins. Train yourself to wait. Wait an hour. Wait a day. Let stillness become part of your process. Because what feels urgent now often means nothing tomorrow. 3. Defensive reaction. You feel misunderstood, attacked, or judged, and you want to explain yourself. But understand this. People who want to misunderstand you will. You can't convince them. Don't waste your energy defending your peace. You don't owe them explanation. You don't need their permission to be at ease. Let them talk. You stay still. Here's the truth most will never understand. Non-reaction is the highest form of response. It communicates confidence louder than words. It shows you're not ruled by impulse, insecurity, or fear. Imagine this. Someone insults you publicly. They want a reaction. They feed off your anger, but you stay calm. You look at them and smile. That silence burns hotter than any words ever could, because your calm exposes their chaos. Your restraint reveals their weakness. And deep down, they know they lost. That's power. That's mastery. That's the art of non-reaction. Let's look at the leaders you admire. The greatest generals, thinkers, and creators. None of them were reactionary. They were deliberate, measured, patient. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, and disease, but never panicked. Why? Because he lived by the Stoic law. If it's not within me, it cannot control me. He didn't react. He responded. He didn't rush to emotion. He waited for clarity. That's what you must learn. You can't stop chaos, but you can stop reacting to it. You can't control their behavior, but you can control your response. You have a choice, always. Now, understand the science of it. Every emotional reaction triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. It clouds judgment. It lowers patience. It narrows focus. When you react emotionally, your brain literally becomes less intelligent. That's why calm people win. They conserve clarity. They maintain perspective. They think while others panic. It's not about intelligence. It's about discipline. That's the key. The one who stays calm the longest controls the outcome. So here's how to master non-reaction in daily life. Step 1. Recognize the trigger. Know what sets you off. People? Deadlines? Disrespect? Awareness is step 1. You can't master what you refuse to see. Step 2. Create distance. Pause. Step back. Take a deep breath before you speak. Delay your reply. Even a few seconds of distance give you control. Step 3. Reframe the moment. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter in a week? Most times it won't. Let it go. Step 4. Reward your restraint. Every time you stay calm when you could have exploded, remind yourself, you won. Every time you stay silent when provoked, tell yourself, you chose strength. Every time you wait before acting, celebrate that mastery, because that's training. That's discipline. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about caring enough to protect your energy. It's not about being cold. It's about being clear. Non-reaction is emotional intelligence in action. It's what separates the ordinary from the exceptional, the weak from the wise, the reactive from the resilient. You must remind yourself, every situation is a test of control. Every trigger is a chance to practice mastery. Every delay is an invitation to patience. That's the way of the Stoic. That's the path of inner power. So the next time life tries to pull you into chaos, remember this mantra. He who reacts loses. He who waits wins. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Let it shape your thinking. Let it slow your breath. Let it harden your focus. Because the moment you stop reacting, you start leading. The moment you stop defending, you start deciding. The moment you stop chasing, you start commanding. That's real control. That's true freedom. You've now learned to master non-reaction, the highest form of composure. But calm isn't enough if you can't endure pain, because life will test you. It will hurt you. And the Stoic doesn't run from pain. He trains in it. You've learned to be still in chaos. Now, you'll learn to turn suffering into strength. Pain. You hate it. You avoid it. You fear it. But here's the truth most people will never tell you. Pain is the most honest teacher you will ever have. You can lie to yourself. You can fake confidence. You can talk tough. But pain? Pain doesn't lie. Pain shows you exactly who you are. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every betrayal. It's emotional resistance training. It's the weight room for your soul. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to condition you. It comes to make you unbreakable. That's the key. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. Say it again. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. The average person runs from pain. They see discomfort and immediately retreat. They say, this is unfair. They say, why me? But the disciplined person, the one who's training for greatness, says something different. They say, this is my workout. They say, this is my chance to get stronger. They say, let's see what I'm made of. You have a choice. You can suffer like a victim, or you can suffer like a warrior. Both paths hurt. Only one transforms you. Think about ancient soldiers. They didn't fear the battlefield. They trained for it. They marched through mud. They endured cold nights. They slept hungry, bleeding and exhausted, not because they loved pain, because they loved strength, because they understood the equation. The harder the training, the stronger the soldier. Emotional life is no different. Every rejection, every setback, every insult, it's training. The universe puts you under pressure to forge you, to carve out the weakness, to expose the softness in you that pretends to be strength. You think you're calm until chaos hits. You think you're disciplined until temptation knocks. You think you're patient until life delays your reward. That's when the truth appears. That's when pain begins its lesson. Pain refines you. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It simply arrives and demands you grow. When you're in pain, your mind wants escape. It wants comfort, distraction, sympathy. But strength is built in the opposite direction. Strength is built when you face the pain, fully awake. Stop running from discomfort. Sit in it. Observe it. Learn from it. Every second you endure consciously is a rep for your mind. Every moment you refuse to break is mental muscle forming. That's how you toughen the spirit. That's how you become emotionally invincible. Let's talk about emotional conditioning. Most people treat emotions like accidents, random, uncontrollable. But emotions are like muscles. They can be trained. They can be disciplined. They can be made to serve you. Pain is your training partner. It doesn't care how you feel about it. It shows up whether you're ready or not. And every time you meet it with focus instead of fear, you grow. He who reacts loses. He who endures evolves. He who endures pain without breaking commands himself. You want freedom? Then learn to endure discomfort. Because every goal, every dream, every level up demands sacrifice. And sacrifice is pain with a purpose. Remember this, the body grows through resistance. The mind grows the same way. You can't think your way to resilience. You train your way there. You train it every time you don't quit. You train it every time you show up, even when you're tired. You train it every time you keep your word, when no one's watching. You want confidence? Earn it through endurance. You want power? Build it through patience. You want peace? Forge it through pain. Because pain doesn't just reveal your limits, it expands them. It teaches you that you're capable of far more than you imagined. It strips you of excuses. It leaves you naked, exposed, and real. And from that place, something incredible happens. You rebuild, stronger, clearer, sharper. That's the reward. That's the gift. Pain purifies your weakness. Here's what most people get wrong. They think comfort equals happiness. They think the absence of pain equals peace. But comfort breeds complacency, and complacency kills growth. The strongest people aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who walk through it with purpose. They understand that pain is feedback, not failure. They know it's the body's way of saying, you're growing. That's the discipline. To reframe pain. To see it not as an enemy, but as a mentor. You have a choice. You can see hardship as cruelty or as curriculum. You can collapse under it or rise because of it. That's the difference between the average and the extraordinary. The average looks at pain and quits. The extraordinary looks at pain and smiles because they know what's being built beneath the surface. So what do you do when pain comes? First, stop labeling it as bad. It's not bad. It's necessary. Second, stop resisting it. The more you resist, the more it hurts. Third, extract a lesson. Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That's the mindset of mastery. Because life will test you again and again. Each test harder than the last. Not because life hates you, but because it's preparing you for greater responsibility. That's the training. That's the grind. And if you can endure with grace, you earn a power few ever achieve, emotional mastery. You stop being controlled by pain. You start commanding it. Stillness under pain is strength. Clarity under pain is wisdom. Action under pain is greatness. Remember, pain is not punishment. It's preparation. Say it until it becomes your truth. Say it until the next time life knocks you down, you don't flinch. You smile. Because you know what's happening. You're being trained. You've learned to stop fearing pain. You've learned to train with it, not run from it. You've learned that suffering is not a sentence. It's a sharpening. You mastered your endurance. Now, it's time to talk about energy, your most precious weapon. Not time, not money, not attention. Your energy decides everything, and only discipline protects it. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day you wake up, the war begins. Not with other people, not with the world, with yourself. The undisciplined mind is chaos. It reacts, it panics, it drifts. It becomes a slave to impulse, to noise, to fear. But the disciplined mind, that's a weapon. That's a fortress. You have a choice. Every morning, every moment, every thought. You can train your mind, or you can let it control you. That's the key. The Stoics knew this truth centuries ago. They didn't pray for easier days. They prayed for stronger minds. They built mental muscle the same way soldiers build endurance, through repetition, through restraint, through discipline. And here's the thing. Discipline isn't something you feel like doing. It's something you do anyway. That's the real strength. Discipline is freedom. Weakness is slavery. Say it again. Discipline is freedom. Weakness is slavery. Because when you discipline your mind, you control your focus. You decide what gets your attention. You decide what doesn't. That's how you break free. Think of your mind like a wild horse. Powerful, energetic, uncontrolled. If you don't train it, it will throw you off every time. But if you master it, that same force carries you anywhere you want to go. So how do you train it? Daily, relentlessly, without negotiation. The Stoic mind is built like a muscle through daily discipline, not occasional inspiration. Not once a week when you feel motivated. Every single day. That's the difference between amateurs and masters. Let's talk about routine. Your morning is your foundation. If your first hour is chaos, your whole day will follow it. If your first hour is disciplined, your mind will obey you. When you wake up, don't reach for your phone. Don't open the floodgates to distraction. Sit in silence. Breathe. Reflect. Write. Ask yourself, what kind of person will I be today? Not what will I get, but who will I be? That's mental conditioning. The Stoics practice reflection every morning and every night. They reviewed their thoughts like soldiers inspecting weapons. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction was examined, because self-awareness is the beginning of control. You control your thoughts, or they control you. That's the law. And most people, they're not in control. They're prisoners of noise, slaves of social media, victims of their own distraction. They call it freedom when they scroll endlessly. But that's not freedom. That's dependency. Real freedom is focus. Real freedom is being able to sit in stillness without reaching for stimulation. Try it. Sit for 10 minutes with no phone, no music, no conversation. Watch how fast your mind rebels. That's addiction. That's weakness. That's what you must discipline. Discipline is freedom. Weakness is slavery. Here's what mental discipline looks like in real life. When anger rises, you don't speak. When fear comes, you don't run. When boredom hits, you don't distract yourself. You breathe. You stay. You choose. Because you always have a choice. You don't need their permission to be calm. You don't need external validation to be focused. You don't even need motivation. You need control. It's not about feeling strong. It's about being steady. That's what separates the Stoic from the crowd. Mental discipline is not built in comfort. It's built in resistance. When you don't want to meditate, that's when you must. When you don't want to journal, that's when it matters most. When you don't want to think anyway. Because discipline isn't about doing easy things perfectly. It's about doing hard things consistently. That's how you win the inner war. Your emotions will scream. Your thoughts will race. Your ego will demand reaction. But you don't answer. You observe. You breathe. You choose. He who reacts loses. He who responds with discipline wins. Let's break it down into practice. A mental training regimen. Step 1. Morning silence. Before the world wakes up, give yourself 10 minutes. Sit still. No phone. No sound. Breathe in discipline. Exhale weakness. Let your mind settle like water. Stillness is command. Step 2. Journal reflection. Write what you think, what you feel, what you fear. Not to overanalyze, but to become aware. Awareness is the first form of control. You can't master what you don't see. Step 3. Mental repetition. Throughout the day, repeat your command phrases. I control my thoughts. I control my focus. Discipline is freedom. Each repetition rewires your mind. Each word is a weight lifted. Step 4. Night review. Before bed, reflect. Where did you lose focus? Where did you stay strong? That's your feedback loop. That's how growth compounds. The Stoics did this every day, not for perfection, but for presence. A disciplined mind is not emotional. It's intentional. It doesn't waste energy on gossip, outrage, or insecurity. It saves energy for creation, for purpose, for clarity. And here's the truth. You cannot be both distracted and powerful. You cannot be both reactive and wise. You cannot be both undisciplined and free. You have to choose. Every day, every thought. Because freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. It comes from mastering what you must. That's the paradox of power. You discipline your mind, and in return, your mind frees you. So ask yourself, who's in control right now? You or your impulses, your focus or your distractions, your discipline or your weakness? Every time you choose stillness over noise, you strengthen the muscle. Every time you choose focus over impulse, you reclaim your power. Every time you choose discipline, you earn freedom. Discipline is freedom. Weakness is slavery. Never forget that. You've built your mind like a fortress. You've learned to lead your thoughts instead of follow them. You've discovered that mental discipline isn't punishment. It's liberation. You've disciplined your mind daily. Now, let's talk about the next level of mastery, where action meets restraint. Because thought alone isn't enough. It must move through the world with precision, control, and strength. You've learned to master your thoughts. Now it's time to master your energy. The greatest battles you fight are not with the world. They're with your own ego. Your ego wants control. It wants certainty. It wants to be right. But the Stoic mind knows this truth. Control is an illusion, and ego is enemy. The ego seeks control through illusion, expecting life to bend your way. That's not strength. That's insecurity wearing armor. The ego whispers, I deserve. Discipline says, I adapt. Expectation is emotional poison. Say it again. Expectation is emotional poison. Because every time you expect life to behave a certain way, you set yourself up for pain. Every time you demand outcomes, you weaken your peace. You have a choice to cling or to release. That's the key. The world will not bend to your expectations. People will disappoint you. Plans will collapse. Timing will betray you. That's life. The question is, will you break with it or will you bend with grace? The Stoic bends. He doesn't fight the river. He flows with it. Because peace doesn't come from control. It comes from acceptance. You can resist what happens, or you can work with it. You can react, or you can respond. You have a choice. Picture this. A man spends years building a business. He does everything right. He sacrifices sleep, time, comfort. Then one economic shift, one market crash, and it's gone. His ego screams, this isn't fair. His discipline whispers, adapt. Which one do you think wins? The man who clings to ego collapses with his plans. The man who accepts what is rises again. He starts over, smarter, calmer, wiser, because expectation is emotional poison. Acceptance is emotional strength. Ego and expectation walk hand in hand. The ego expects life to recognize it. It expects applause. It expects smooth roads and guaranteed rewards. But life owes you nothing. Say that again, life owes you nothing. That truth stings at first. Then it liberates you. Because once you stop expecting, you start acting. Once you stop demanding, you start adapting. And that's where real power begins. It's not about control. It's about command. You command your response, not the outcome. You command your focus, not the world. That's discipline. When things don't go your way, you have two paths. You can resist or you can accept. Resistance drains. Acceptance transforms. Every time you resist, you feed the ego. Every time you accept, you feed the soul. Let's be clear. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is clarity. It's not giving up. It's growing up. It's understanding that what happens outside you matters less than what happens within you. The undisciplined mind demands the world to behave. The disciplined mind adapts to reality and thrives within it. That's why the Stoic is unbreakable. You don't control traffic. You don't control people. You don't control outcomes. But you do control reaction. You do control thought. You do control effort. That's the domain of mastery. That's where your peace lives. When your mind says, it should have gone differently, remind yourself it went exactly how it was supposed to. Not by luck, not by fate, but by reality. And reality doesn't care about ego. You don't need the world to be fair. You need yourself to be focused. You don't need validation. You need vision. Expectation is emotional poison. Release it. Detox your mind. Think about how much pain comes from unmet expectations. People expect love to be returned the same way they give it. They expect loyalty, gratitude, respect, and when it doesn't come, they break. But that's not love. That's attachment. That's ego. True strength is giving without expecting. True peace is acting without needing the result. The Stoic serves, not for applause, but for purpose. He does the right thing because it's right, not because it's recognized. That's the quiet power of detachment. When you no longer expect, you can fully engage. You're no longer tied to outcome. You're free in action. That's the paradox of mastery. You let go to gain control. So how do you practice this? How do you let go of ego and expectation in a world that constantly feeds both? Simple. Through awareness, humility, and daily discipline. Step 1, awareness. Notice your expectations. When you feel anger or disappointment, trace it back. Almost always, it's rooted in an unmet expectation. See it clearly. Call it what it is, emotional poison. Step 2, humility. Remind yourself that you're not the center of the universe. You're part of something larger, unpredictable, uncontrollable, vast. Humility kills ego. And with ego gone, peace enters. Step 3, daily discipline. Each day, expect nothing. Be grateful for everything. This mindset makes you untouchable. You don't depend on luck. You depend on your response. That's the mindset of mastery. Every moment of frustration is an invitation to detach. Every disappointment is a test of ego. Every failure is a chance to practice freedom. When someone insults you, don't react. When life delays your plans, don't resist. When things fall apart, don't curse. Breathe, accept, adapt. You have a choice every single time. That's the key. It's not about control. It's about command. Not about forcing life, but flowing with it. The Stoic doesn't chase perfection. He seeks presence. He doesn't demand outcomes. He delivers effort. That's why he's calm. That's why he's strong. That's why he's free. Expectation is emotional poison. Acceptance is emotional mastery. When you let go of ego and expectation, the world changes. Not because it becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. Your peace no longer depends on things going your way. Your focus no longer depends on external reward. You do what must be done because that's who you are. No noise, no drama, no ego, just calm precision. The ego screams, I deserve more. Discipline whispers, I'll become more. That's evolution. That's stoicism. That's mastery. You've released the grip of ego. You've freed yourself from the poison of expectation. You've learned to see reality clearly and act within it powerfully. Now, it's time to protect what you've built, because clarity means nothing without boundaries. You've mastered your reactions. Now, you must master your energy. You've learned to let go of what you can't control. Now, let's talk about protecting what's within your control. Pressure is not your enemy. It's your mirror. When life presses you, it doesn't crush you. It reveals you. It shows what's underneath all the talk, all the pretending, all the fragile confidence you've built on comfort. You don't truly know yourself when things are easy. You meet your real self when everything is falling apart and you have to decide whether to crumble or to stand. That's the test. That's the truth. And that's where mastery begins. You have a choice: to react or to respond, to panic or to breathe, to escape or to train. Pressure doesn't break you. It exposes you. Every day, life will throw something at you. Traffic, deadlines, arguments, rejection. And most people, they lose their composure instantly. They explode. They freeze. They blame. That's weakness disguised as normal behavior. But you're not here to be normal. You're here to build calm under pressure. Because calm is the real strength. Pressure sharpens me. Calm defines me. Say it again. Pressure sharpens me. Calm defines me. Let that become your identity. Think of the Stoic generals, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. They didn't wait for peace to practice calm. They practiced calm inside chaos. They didn't meditate in silence so they could avoid conflict. They did it so that when conflict came, they could stay unshaken. That's the key. You don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training. So, if you never train your calm, you'll never find it when you need it most. The Stoics trained daily. When their temper wanted to explode, they paused. When something went wrong, they asked, "Can I control this?" If the answer was no, they let it go. That's not weakness. That's discipline. And discipline is strength. You have to start small. Train your calm in the minor storms before you face the hurricanes. Someone cuts you off in traffic? Breathe. Someone insults you online? Breathe. Your plans fall apart? Breathe. Because every reaction is a repetition. Every repetition builds your muscle of composure. The calm mind isn't born, it's built, and you build it through pressure. When pressure hits, your body wants to panic. Your breathing shortens. Your mind races. You start imagining every possible disaster. That's natural, but it's not useful. Here's what to do instead. Pause. Breathe. Focus. Your breath is your anchor. Slow breathing tells your body, we are safe. We are in control. And when your body listens, your mind follows. That's the discipline you need. You can't stop stress from happening, but you can stop it from controlling you. Every time you stay calm in chaos, you rewire your brain. You're teaching it that pressure isn't danger, it's opportunity. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is proof that you're in the arena. The ones who never feel pressure, they're not playing at a high level. They're hiding. So don't pray for less pressure. Pray for stronger composure. Pray for the discipline to stay centered when the world spins around you. Remember this, the battlefield isn't outside. It's in your mind. The stress you feel comes not from the event, but from your interpretation of it. It's not the deadline. It's your story about the deadline. It's not the argument. It's your ego screaming to be right. You have to master your interpretation. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Can I control this? What's the most disciplined response I can give right now? That's how you build calm. Through awareness, through self-command. Think about soldiers in combat. Fire, noise, confusion, yet the great ones stay cool. They've trained for it. Their mind knows chaos doesn't mean catastrophe. Now think about your own battles, the argument with your boss, the uncertainty about your future, the pressure to perform. You may not be on a battlefield, but your nervous system reacts as if you are. So train like a warrior. In the morning, visualize chaos and yourself standing firm. During the day, when frustration hits, practice silence before reaction. At night, reflect on how many storms you passed through without losing your peace. That's real progress. That's strength you can feel. Pressure sharpens me. Calm defines me. Say it until you believe it. You might think calm means passivity. It doesn't. Calm is not indifference. Calm is control. It's the still surface of a deep ocean, silent but powerful underneath. It's the eye of a storm, unshaken, centered, aware. That's the kind of calm you want to build. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you can handle. Because when you know your own power, you don't need to prove it with noise. You show it with composure. You don't yell to show strength. You stay silent to demonstrate it. You don't react fast. You respond wisely. Calm isn't the absence of fire. It's the mastery of it. Now understand this. Calm is contagious. When you stay centered, people feel it. They start to mirror your composure. They trust your presence. But when you lose control, they lose confidence. Energy spreads. So choose the energy you bring into every room, every situation, every challenge. Be the one who brings clarity. Be the one who holds the line. Be the one who reminds everyone, pressure is just a test, and you're built for it. You have a choice every single day, to be the storm or to be the eye inside it, to let pressure define your fear or to let it refine your strength. Pressure is a gift. It forges you. It teaches you what no comfort ever will. So next time it hits, don't run. Don't complain. Don't crumble. Breathe. Focus. Execute. Because you are not here to avoid pressure. You are here to train inside it. That's how you become unshakable. You mastered your calm. You built control under chaos. Now, it's time to learn something deeper, something most people never understand. Power isn't always loud. In fact, the strongest people speak the least because they've learned the next law of mastery. The final stage of mastery isn't about control over others. It's control over yourself. When you control your mind, the world can no longer shake you. That's it. That's the summit. The world can insult you. The world can ignore you. The world can betray you. But when your peace no longer depends on the world, you win. That's the essence of becoming untouchable. The Stoics call it apatheia, not apathy, but freedom. Freedom from being controlled by the outside world. Freedom from needing things to go your way in order to stay steady. Because if your calm depends on conditions, it's not calm, it's a hostage situation. You've lived long enough as a hostage to your circumstances. It's time to walk free. You have a choice. To live by reaction or by discipline. To live pulled by emotion or guided by principle. That's the key. You become untouchable not by building walls, but by building wisdom. Not by ignoring the world, but by understanding it deeply enough that it no longer owns you. Nothing outside me has power over me. Repeat that until it burns into your identity. Nothing outside me has power over me. That's not denial. That's discipline. When the storm hits, you don't deny the rain. You just stop expecting the sky to obey your feelings. When someone disrespects you, you don't pretend it's okay. You just stop giving their words permission to define your worth. When life twists your plans, you don't complain. You adapt. You move. You continue. Because nothing outside you has power unless you give it permission. The untouchable mind is not built in comfort. It's forged through friction. When you face loss, you choose calm. When you face insult, you choose restraint. When you face chaos, you choose clarity. You train this in the small moments. When someone cuts you off, you don't react. You breathe. When a deal falls through, you don't spiral, you reset. When your expectations collapse, you don't shatter, you accept. That's daily training. That's mental conditioning. That's the Stoic gym. Because life will never stop testing you. It will never hand you ideal conditions. But that's not a problem. It's the point. Pressure refines you. Adversity strengthens you. Resistance defines you. You can't be untouchable without being tested. Understand this truth. The world is unpredictable. People are inconsistent. Plans fail. Emotions lie. So if your peace depends on stability, you will suffer forever. If your confidence depends on approval, you will chase validation until you die. You don't need their permission. You don't need their understanding. You don't need their apology. You only need mastery over yourself. That's the real freedom most people will never find, because they're too busy trying to control the uncontrollable. You can't control people. You can't control timing. You can't control outcomes. But you can control your attitude. You can control your effort. You can control your response. That's the key. When you start living this way, something strange happens. You stop being shaken by things that used to destroy you. An insult becomes data, not a dagger. A setback becomes feedback, not failure. A rejection becomes redirection, not humiliation. You see everything as neutral until you give it meaning. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That's evolution. That's emotional sovereignty. Because when you own your perspective, nothing owns you. The Stoic warrior walks through loss without breaking. He feels pain, but he doesn't collapse. He faces chaos, but he doesn't lose his center. That's not because he's numb. It's because he's anchored. He knows that life's events don't define him. His responses do. He doesn't chase perfection. He practices control. He doesn't fear pain. He respects it as part of the process. When insulted, he stays silent. When defeated, he studies. When abandoned, he rebuilds. That's untouchable energy. It's not arrogance. It's not superiority. It's internal command. And once you taste that, you'll never go back. Here's a fact. Most people are slaves, not to chains, but to emotions. They get a text and their mood changes. They lose money and their confidence vanishes. They get criticized and their identity collapses. That's emotional slavery. But the Stoic, the untouchable mind, moves differently. He doesn't let the external world dictate, the internal one. You can insult him. He listens without reacting. You can fail him. He adapts without hatred. You can ignore him. He continues without needing your recognition. That's real power. And it terrifies weak people because they can't manipulate what they can't trigger. You become untouchable through practice, not theory. Every day, you must reinforce your composure. Morning, remind yourself, today, something will test me. Afternoon, when it happens, say, here's my training. Night, reflect, did I master my mind or did it master me? That's how you grow. That's how you earn peace. Because peace isn't given, it's earned through discipline. It's not about avoiding storms. It's about walking through them dry. When you truly understand this, nothing scares you anymore. Failure? You'll handle it. Rejection? You'll redirect it. Uncertainty? You'll adapt to it. Because nothing outside you has power over you. That's the mantra. That's the truth. That's the freedom you've been chasing. Let's be clear, this isn't a one-time achievement. You don't wake up enlightened and stay that way forever. Becoming untouchable is a daily discipline. Every day, your ego will want control. Every day, your emotions will want attention. Every day, your fears will want to speak. You must choose silence. You must choose steadiness. You must choose sovereignty. You have a choice, always, and every choice builds a muscle of mastery. You can't stop the world from testing you, but you can stop letting it rule you. This is the end of the road, the Stoic road. You started with chaos. You built awareness. You learned discipline. You practiced silence. You built calm. And now, you've reached the final freedom, the untouchable mind. When you own your mind, no one can own you. That's the power most will never find, because it requires giving up everything you can't control. But you've earned it. So say it one last time, not as words, but as a declaration of identity. Nothing outside me has power over me. That's the mantra of mastery. That's the creed of the calm warrior. That's the essence of the Stoic mind. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect circumstances. You only need discipline. You are untouchable. The Stoic mind is not built in a day. It is forged every moment you choose calm over chaos, silence over reaction, and purpose over ego. You win every time you do not respond in anger. You rise every time you choose peace over control. You evolve every time you let go of what does not serve your strength. Remember this. The world does not need more emotional people. It needs more disciplined minds. From this day forward, let nothing control you. Not your past, not your fears, not their opinions. Control yourself, and you control everything. Now, take this mindset into your day and prove your mastery through silence, calm, and discipline. That is the Stoic way.